have been charged to ensure that the forthcoming National Convention to pick a presidential candidate reflects on the values and virtues of the governing party. President Muhammadu Buhari, who threw the challenge at the crucial meeting with the governors, insists that the quality politics of the APC must come to play at the primaries. All the 22 progressive governors, except that of Kaduna, represented by his deputy, and the national chairman of the party, Senator Abdullahi Adamu, attended the meeting. The president, who noted that the most successful political parties globally always relied on their internal cohesion and strong leadership brand to achieve bigger electoral fortunes, and the APC shall not be any different. He said even as the governing party continues to implement the blueprint for a more prosperous nation, it is a compelling necessity on his party to provide stronger leadership towards guaranteeing an orderly transition process. President Buhari promised to ensure that the APC remains strong, united, and formidable to not only retain power at the center, but also pool the majority in various legislative chambers, as well as gain additional number of states. The president appealed to all the governors to, amongst others, not to allow the interest to override the party's interest and to remain focused on the changing environment and the expectations of Nigerians. He said the overall objective must be the victory of governing party, and therefore the choice of candidates must be someone who will give the Nigerian masses a sense of victory and even before the elections. The chairman of the Progressive Governors Forum, Atiku Bagudu of Kebbi State, said the party must build on the successes of the recent elective conventions and the primaries conducted so far and come up with a candidate that will work in the footsteps of patriotism and the love for the country. He pledged that the APC governors will support the president to have a very successful primaries next week. The World Health Organization, WHO, has called on African governments to impose environmental tax levies on tobacco across the value and supply chains, including production, processing, distribution, sales, consumption, and waste management. The Regional Director for Africa, Dr. Masidisco Moeti, made the call in a message to commemorate the year 2022 World No Tobacco Day, which is also celebrated on the 31st of May every year. Dr. Moeti said the day was to raise awareness of the negative health, social, economic, and environmental impacts of tobacco production and use. She said this year's theme, Tobacco Threats to Our Environment, aimed to highlight the environmental impact of the entire tobacco cycle, from cultivation, production, and distribution to the toxic waste it generates. Dr. Moeti advised countries to accelerate the implementation of the WHO Framework Convention on Tobacco Control, which provides the necessary guidance to advance the creation of smoke-free environments. Dr. Moeti said that despite 24 African countries instituting bans on smoking in public places and 35 banning tobacco advertising, promotion, and sponsorship, our estimates are that 1 in every 10 African adolescents use tobacco. Every 31st of May is a special day set aside by the World Health Organization, WHO, to raise awareness on the harmful effects of tobacco use and second-hand smoke exposure. Benga Adekoya in this report x-rays the significance of the day and possible ways to stop environmental pollution through the smoking of cigarettes.
The 2022 World No Tobacco Day, put together by the World Health Organization, is aimed at raising public awareness about the environmental impacts of the entire tobacco cycle, from its circulation, production, and distribution to the toxic waste it generates. The theme of the year 2022 World Tobacco Day is also to expose the tobacco industry's effort to redeem its reputation and make its products more appealing by marketing them as environmentally friendly. According to some experts, from start to finish, the tobacco life cycle is an overwhelming, polluting, and damaging process, hence the need to say no to tobacco.
When you look at individual that is smoking, you can be exposed to dangers of cancer of the lungs. You can be exposed to cardiovascular problems, that is the heart and the vessels that are carrying blood around the whole body. You can be exposed to having diabetes mellitus. So when you look at all these things, it is expedient that people should know that there is danger, a lot of dangers in smoking.
A smoker, once you smoke, not only do you endanger your own life actively, you also endanger the life of other people that perceive the odor or takes the smoke along with you passively. So if you stay where somebody is smoking, you are a passive smoker, while the person smoking is indeed the active smoker. So whoever is smoking is probably on the way to suicide in his own turn, but also trying to commit murder.
For Ayobami Faluye, a public health professional in tobacco-free generation, advocates the harmful impacts of the tobacco industry on the environment is vast growing, and it's adding unnecessary pressure to the planet's already scarce resources and fragile ecosystems.
We have implored them to implement stricter measures. Why do you give tobacco companies licenses to produce tobacco in the first place? If you love the public health and the well-being of your people so much, and you are not induced by the money that they splash all around in forms of taxations and all that. See, research has confirmed that no matter the taxes or revenues you generate from tobacco companies, it can never be equivalent to the destruction it causes on the human capital of the nation. Economists have done that, we have ascertained that, and yet we still give tobacco companies the ability to run in our vicinity.
Members of the public were, however, admonished to quit smoking or chewing of tobacco, and as well move away from people who smoke around them for their health benefits.
The healthcare industry is an aggregation and integration of sectors within the economic system that provide goods and services for the well-being of the people. This has made Ogun State government in the last 3 years of the current administration to invest so much in the sector, particularly to combat the spread of COVID-19 in the state. Also, another 20 primary healthcare centers for reduction of mortality rate have been rehabilitated across the nooks and crannies of the state, coupled with the purchase of 12 new ambulances for healthcare emergency response. Benga Adekoya's report on the 3rd anniversary of this administration in the health sector is presented from the studios.
As the 5th civilian governor in Ogun State, Prince Dapo Abiodun's administration has been magnanimous with effective approaches to all sectors towards actualizing the vision and mission of the agenda to rebuild the state. Treated fairly is the health sector, which is one of the critical sectors in the last 3 years that has witnessed unprecedented development, including the purchase of some medical facilities in Ilaro and Ijayi General Hospital, as well as Olabisi Onabanjo University Teaching Hospital to further strengthen the healthcare system of the state.
Since May the 29th in Ogun State, His Excellency has achieved a lot in the 3 tiers of the health sector. As far as Olabisi Onabanjo Teaching Hospital is concerned, we have renovated the entire hospital, and the entire hospital has 250 new beds. We've renovated the mortuary, We have 6 new freezers in the mortuary. When we came, you couldn't come a mile near the mortuary. You could smell the dead corpses far off. I couldn't go into the mortuary, but now you could sit down and eat even in the middle of a mortuary. So those are the sort of achievements. We've been able to recruit nurses. The nurses in Olabisi Onabanjo for the first time now have their own directorate, and we have the director of nursing, the deputy director of nursing. About 12 of them were upgraded into that role. So those are the achievements in the tertiary facility. In the secondary facility, we have upgraded the 3 state hospitals, Ijebu-Ode, even 4, Ijebu-Ode, Ota, Ilaro, and Ijayi. They've had facelifts, they've had investments, they've had new structures, both infrastructure, equipment, and human resource for health. All that has been upgraded. We have worked on the primary health centers. The primary health service has improved dramatically. We've renovated over 60 primary health centers, and we continue to renovate them. We've equipped them, provided them with reliable water source and power source.
However, the last 3 years of Prince Dapo Abiodun-led government, despite being ravaged by COVID-19 pandemic, began its fight against the COVID with the index case at Abeokuta local government on the 27th of February, year 2020.
I believe that our receiving these vaccines first may not be unconnected with our state of preparedness to receive the vaccines. We have had our entire cold chain ready, both the central one in Abeokuta and the ones at the PHC's level in each ward.
Since the outbreak and the rise of the COVID-19 pandemic across Nigeria, the current administration has made strong efforts to curb the spread of the virus. Among the measures put in place is the inauguration of isolation centers in Shagamu and Ikene, as well as Mokola Lab and Ogun State Walk-in and Drive-Through Testing Center to curtail the spread of the virus. The World Health Organization, WHO, and the Nigeria Center for Disease Control also visited Ogun State to ascertain the level of measures put in place so as to work in tandem with the Presidential Task Force for COVID-19 to ensure effective containment of the virus. Apart from curbing the spread of COVID-19 pandemic, Ogun State government also purchased 12 more new ambulances for emergency response as a government that places high premium and values on the life of its people.
We also have done the ambulance service. If you remember, we had the ambulance service that had 5 ambulances, and they worked from 8 till 3 p.m. and they're gone. Right now, we have a 24-hour ambulance service. We have ambulances in the 9 constituencies of Ogun State. We have over 26 ambulances functioning, and you can call our ambulances 24/7 in the 3 senatorial districts. The numbers flash on OGTV, as you know.
Ogun State government also ensured more than 8,000 lives of frontline health workers during the pandemic.
Our first 2 years was all about COVID. We've actually implemented a very effective COVID pandemic response, and we continue to roll out the COVID vaccination campaign. And Ogun State, as you know, is one of the leading states in Nigeria as far as the vaccination is concerned.
To reposition the health sector of the state, the present administration also walked its talk by rehabilitating 20 primary health care centers spread across different parts of the state. It is often said that effective primary health care delivery remains the bedrock for efficient health system of any society. It is against this backdrop that the government also introduced health insurance scheme for the informal sector of the economy.
We have also introduced the health insurance, which actually means that people can access health without paying out of their pocket, particularly the very poor. We've registered over 50,000 Ogun State citizens for free health care on the Basic Healthcare Provision Fund. And we continue to register people on the informal insurance scheme.
For the State Commissioner for Health, Dr. Tomi Koka, more goodies are in the can for the people of the state.
Still on health matters, the Nigerian Medical Association, NMA, has urged the Nigerian Center for Disease Control, NCDC, to step up its efforts in educating and protecting Nigerians from the increasing cases of the ravaging monkeypox disease. It stressed that the agency, which is saddled with the responsibility of disease prevention and control, must not lose sight of other infectious diseases like monkeypox, even as it focuses on COVID-19. The Doctors Association, while urging Nigerians to adhere strictly to the preventive measures of personal hygiene, especially hand hygiene, because like monkeypox, COVID-19 is still very much in the country. The NMA said the situation can become worse if not handled properly, and implored religious institutions, churches and mosques to take up the responsibility of sensitizing their followers about the disease. Still to come on the news, President Buhari laments rising insecurity in the Gulf of Guinea and calls for collaborative efforts. You're still watching the comprehensive news package for the day on OGTV, and thanks for being there. President Muhammadu Buhari has lamented a surge in insecurity within African waterways, specifically within the Gulf of Guinea. The president noted that the development required collaborative efforts among stakeholders to tackle. He spoke at the International Maritime Conference in Onne, River State, as part of the 66th anniversary of the Nigerian Navy. Represented by the Minister of Defense, Major General Bashir Magashi, retired, President Buhari lauded the efforts of the Nigerian Navy, noting that the efforts have brought about decline in sea piracy and ultimately delisting of Nigeria from the International Maritime Bureau of Piracy list since March 2022. He said that the Nigerian Navy is the partnering agency in the maritime sector that has the responsibility in the Constitution to check threats in the maritime area. The Chief of Naval Staff, Vice Admiral Howell Gambo, emphasized that the collaboration was important as maritime crimes within the Gulf of Guinea have become transitional and are beyond the scope and combat capability of one nation. President Muhammadu Buhari has left for Madrid, Spain, on an official visit to the Spanish President, Pedro Sanchez. Buhari was accompanied by the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Geoffrey Oyama, Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice, Abubakar Malami, Minister of Industry, Trade and Investment, Otumba Adeniyi Adebayo. Others on the President's trip include Minister of Information and Culture, Alhaji Lai Mohammed, Minister of Interior, Rauf Aregbesola, Minister of Youth and Sports Development, Sunday Dare, and Minister of State for Health, Olorunimbe Mamura. During his engagement with both leaders, the Nigerian President will discuss issues of mutual interest to both countries, which will expectedly result in the signing of agreements and memoranda of understanding on a wide range of topics geared towards further enhancing the bilateral relations between the two nations. Such areas include extradition and transfer of convicted persons, mutual legal assistance, cultural matters, cooperation towards fighting crime and enhancing security, as well as issues affecting dependence of diplomatic staff. Also on the agenda are cooperation on energy, trade and investment, transportation, public health, and sports development. About 387 students have officially been matriculated into various colleges of learning in Chrisland University, Abeokuta. Margaret Okunola reports that the Chancellor of the institution, High Chief Winifred Awushika, urged the newly admitted students to aim for excellence and keep the flag flying. It was the seventh of its kind in the history of the institution.
Solemnly and sincerely pledged.
These are students from across the country after fulfilling the basic requirements by Chrisland University Abeokuta, now being officially absorbed into the institution to kickstart the 2021-2022 academic session, joining the 7th matriculation ceremony virtually The Chancellor, Chrisland University High Chief Winifred Awushika, congratulated the matriculants for seeking for more knowledge through the institution.
Be honest, be sincere, be hardworking, and be a good child of God. Congratulations and God bless you.
The Vice Chancellor, Professor Chinedum Babalola, urged the newly admitted students to abide by the rules and regulations of the institution and participate in all the activities of the university.
Our motto is intellectual radiance. And in Christian group of schools, we say, show the light. Show respect to your colleagues, staff of this university. Be modest in your dressing. The way you dress is the way you will be what? Addressed. So dressing is important to us.
The guest speaker at the occasion, Engineer Biodo Fijabi, challenged the newly admitted students to apply wisdom by putting to use their best for intellectual radiance.
God's gift to you and to the world that you live in. It is what positions you to advance yourself and to solve society's problems. And I have good news for you. Everyone has got potentials. You must turn all your mistakes into learning points. And as much as possible, avoid distractions.
130 students were admitted into College of Arts, Management and Social Sciences, 52 into College of Natural and Applied Sciences, 129 into College of Basic Medical Sciences. The disposition and expression of the matriculants, parents and guardians cannot be mistaken as joy was evident with determined face, hopeful of a bright future ahead.
Despite the prevalence of social vices in Nigeria today, it is imperative to note that all hope is not lost, but rather it requires collective efforts of all towards building a better Nigeria. This was the vision of the Youth Development Crusaders International during a press conference to commemorate its 29th anniversary at Okimoso, Abeokuta. Runke Adeyemi reports.
Inaugurated in May 13, 1993, the Youth Development Crusaders International was created solely for the goal of youth integration and promotion of peace and unity that will make the country indivisible. This plight has, however, remained unchanged, and a 29th year commemorative press conference was organized with the theme, O God of Creation, direct our noble cause. The president and convener, YDC International, Dr. Kayode Kushimo, condemned the trend of religion intolerance, ritual killings, and political instability, especially as the 2023 elections draw near.
No to get rich quick syndrome and the Yahoo boys all in the aim of getting rich, and to say no to ritual killings, because that's rampant now. Many youths are doing terrible things.
Dr. Kushimo further called for involvement of both the government and citizens in particular in moving the country forward.
That indeed the future generation, the future of this country lies squarely with to imbibe this God factor, the godliness. And with that, we can begin to change the narrative for the better.
While declaring a national fasting week from June 1st to June 7, 2022, Dr. Kushimo asked you to take the bull by the horns and mobilize themselves come 2023.
Let the youths too get involved. Go get your PVC. As you know, you are in your 20s, you are in your 30s, in your 40s. Go get your PVC. That's a permanent voter's card. And it is my singular privilege, and as inspired by God, to declare from tomorrow, everyone that will believe in it, a 7-day national prayer and fasting for our dear country.
YDC International is also focused on the project TEMFA, The Eagle Must Fly Again, a 2024 vision that is geared towards relentless pursuit of national unity. Aderunke Adeyemi, OGTV News.
The Minister of Water Resources, Mr. Suleiman Adamu, has urged relevant stakeholders to shift from traditional and unregulated irrigation practices to sustainable land and water use management approach. Adamu said this virtually at the meeting of the National Irrigation Forum of Institutional Strengthening and Management of Public Irrigation Schemes in Nigeria and the annual general meeting in Ibadan on Tuesday. According to him, Nigeria is endowed with water resources, but it is sustainability. But it is threatened by land degradation, deforestation, rapid population growth, and other socio-economic development, including the effects of climate change. He said that these myriads of challenges could be halted through stimulation, promotion of development, and application of arts, science, and techniques of engineering, agriculture, and economics. He further said that ecology and social science in managing water and land resources for irrigation, drainage, flood control, and river training alongside related research will go a long way towards changing poor narratives. Chairman of the Cross River State Independent Electoral Commission, Associate Professor Mike Uche, has said that the commission will curtail vote buying during the local government election fixed for May 24, 2023. Uche announced this at the commission's office in Calabar while briefing representatives of the political parties, stakeholders, and the media. He said activities associated with the election must begin 360 days to the election by the provisions of the Electoral Act 2022 as amended. He urged all political parties and other stakeholders to comply accordingly towards a successful, free, fair, and credible local government council elections in the state. A federal high court, Abuja, on Tuesday, 31st May, admitted Senator Rochas Okorocha to bail, the sum of 500 million naira, with one surety in like sum. Justice Iyang Eko, in a ruling, said granting bail was a discretionary power of the court. Justice Eko said the surety must have a landed property within the jurisdiction of the court and must deposit the certificate of occupancy of the verified property with the registry of the court. The judge, while admitting Okorocha to bail with a cautionary statement, ordered that his international passport be deposited in the registry of the court. He ordered the registry of the court to inform the Nigerian Immigration Service about the state of Okorocha's travel documents. He further ordered the lawmaker not to travel outside the country except with the leave of the court. Eko also granted Okorocha's co-defendant, Ayimyere Chineye, bail in the terms of the administrative bail earlier granted to him by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC. The judge adjourned the matter until November 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11, as well as 11, 2022, for trial. The Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, has arrested 3 suspected global scammers in an Interpol-led operation targeting malware cyber fraud across Southeast Asia. The trio was nabbed in a sting operation conducted simultaneously in Ajegunle, Lagos State, and Benin City, Edo State. The operation was part of a global operation codenamed Killer Bee, involving Interpol, national, central bureaus, and law enforcement in 11 countries across Southeast Asia. According to an EFCC statement, the 3 men were arrested in possession of fake documents, including fraudulent invoices and forged official letters. Operational partners including Brunei, Cambodia, Indonesia, Laos, Malaysia, Myanmar, Nigeria, Philippines, Singapore, Thailand, and Vietnam. The arrest followed the publication of an Interpol cyber report linking a suspected syndicate of Nigerian fraudsters operating from West Africa to the use of malicious remote access Trojan rat known as Agent Tessa. The men are suspected to have used the rat to reroute financial transactions, stealing confidential online connection details from corporate organizations, including oil and gas companies in Southeast Asia, the Middle East, and North America. The kidnapped prelate of the Methodist Church, His Eminence Samuel Uche, says 100 million naira was paid as ransom before he was released. At a press conference in Lagos, the prelate said the monies were arranged in 5 sacks of 20 million naira. The funds, he noted, were raised by the Methodist Church in Nigeria. He also claimed that neither the federal or state governments nor the military or police intervened. The prelate was kidnapped on Sunday in Abia State. Up next on the news, we serve you some business reports with Muji Sholaja.
Welcome to the business segment of the news. The price of liquefied natural gas, LPG, popularly known as cooking gas, has risen by 25% between January and May 2022 in many parts of the nation. The 12-kilogram, which price stood at 7,500 naira in January, has increased to 10,500 naira in Lagos, Abuja, and other cities, a development which has compelled many households to switch to other options, especially charcoal and kerosene. The National Chairman, Liquefied Petroleum Gas Retailers, branch of National Union of Petroleum and Natural Gas Workers, Mr. Michael Umudu, said that the situation was indeed worrisome for both retailers and consumers. He stated that the forex allocation from the Nigerian LNG Limited to marketers could only meet about 40% of the consumption in the country, adding that prices at the depot have similarly risen to about 12.6 million naira for 20 metric tons from 11.4 million naira, which was the average price a few weeks ago. He said the union expected the government to come up with clear policy direction for the development of LPG in the country to forestall the ugly situation. The Nigeria Security and Civil Defense Corps, NSCDC, has uncovered an illegal oil storage site used by vandals to refine automotive gas oil, AGO, also known as diesel, in Lagos. Consequently, 19 suspected members of the syndicate, among whom was a female, were arrested. 81 trucks used to convey the products to different parts of the southwest region were recovered, including 9 buses. In addition, 140 drums containing illegally refined AGO, 15 power generating sets, 12 pumping machines, 25 surface tanks, 4 million naira cash were recovered. The chairman of the African Union warned EU leaders on Tuesday that the decision to expel Russian banks from the SWIFT financial messaging system risks hurting food supplies to the continent. The war in Ukraine and Russia's blockade of its neighbors' ports, combined with African conflicts and climate change, have already sent world cereal prices surging and exacerbated food crisis in Africa. On Tuesday, Senegalese president and AU leader Macky Sall warned Europe that its banking sanctions, part of a raft of EU sanctions aimed at forcing Russia to abandon its invasion, aren't helping. Speaking by video conference to EU leaders in Brussels, Sall acknowledged that Russia's blockade of Odessa had harmed Ukrainian food exports and embarked UN-led efforts to free the port. The International Monetary Fund, IMF, has warned that debt servicing may go up 100% of the federal government's revenue by 2026 if the government fails to implement adequate measures to improve revenue generation. The IMF's resident representative for Nigeria, Ari Aison, disclosed this while presenting the Sub-Saharan African Regional Economic Outlook report in Abuja. According to him, based on a macro-fiscal stress test that was conducted in Nigeria, interest payment on debts may wipe up the country's entire earnings in the next 4 years. Early this year, it was disclosed that the federal government spent 4.2 trillion naira on debt servicing between January and November 2021, which represents 76.2% of the 5.51 trillion naira revenue generated during the period. Nigerian Communications Commission (NCC) said it receives over 40 vandalization reports on telecom structures across the Federation daily. The Commission noted that the situation underlines the need for all stakeholders to put their hands together towards protecting the structures as theirs. Professor Umar Garba Dambata, the Executive Vice Chairman of NCC, represented by Engineer Bako Wakili, NCC Director, Technical Standard and Network Integrity Department, during our Telecom Consumer Conservation Village Square Dialogue, said the Commission is sensitizing the public on the need for communities to own up the structure. He said vandalization of telco structure reduced the quality of service as well as coverage area, leading to dead spots on the network, which results in poor quality of service, adding that it also discouraged investors. That's all on business segment of the news. Back to Wally for the rest.